Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Clinton Victory Election Series, the first term of Donald Trump's administration. The Clinton supporters break into the Capitol building as the Congress is certifying the Electoral College vote. Hillary Clinton has been saying this election was stolen by Russia and voter suppression, and her supporters are breaking into the Capitol building as we speak. Donald Trump will be inaugurated as the 46th President of the United States. It was a bumpy road to his inauguration, but Donald Trump will be inaugurated nonetheless. His starting approval rating has a 47% approval rating across the country and a 45% disapproval, giving him a net plus 2% approval as of right now. Probably the lowest approval for any starting president ever, as Donald Trump is a pretty polarizing figure. And here's President Trump's cabinet at the beginning of his term. His Secretary of State is Robert Zoellick, Secretary of the Treasury Bob Bernanke, Secretary of Defense David Petraeus, Attorney General Gregory Katsas, Secretary of the Interior Heather Wilson, Secretary of Agriculture Governor Kim Reynolds, Secretary of Commerce Alan Fung, Secretary of Labor Jeff Deal, Secretary of Health and Human Service Doug LaMalfa, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development Mike Turner, Secretary of Transportation Blair Milo, Secretary of Energy Rick Snyder, Secretary of Education Brian Sandoval, Secretary of Veterans Affairs Joshua Bolten, Secretary of Homeland Security Michael Jackson, the Budget Director Derek Kahn, Small Business Administrator Shane McMahon, Chief of Staff David Addington, Press Secretary Kevin Sullivan, UN Ambassador Jindai Frazier, the Science Tech Advisor, Kelvin Drogemeyer, Economic Council Chairman, Matthew Slaughter, the EPA Administrator, Patrick McHenry, the U.S. Trade Representative, Stephen Vaughn, the CIA Director, Thomas Shannon Jr., and the National Intelligence Director, Jack Crouch II. President Trump has announced the withdrawal of the United States from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This is getting pretty much universal praise from the anti-establishment wings of both parties, specifically the progressives. He also signs an executive order freezing government hirings. We don't understand the reasoning behind this, but this is something Trump is doing. President Trump is signing an executive order banning transgenders from the military, saying that trans people don't need to be in the military. These are his words, not mine. President Trump announces the beginning of COVID vaccine development, something he bashed the Clinton administration for not doing during her administration. But Trump is announcing the beginning of a vaccine development at Moderna, Pfizer, as well as Johnson & Johnson. President Trump enforces sanctions on Iran. President Clinton did this, and he is reinforcing them much heavier this time around against Iran. President Trump signs an executive order ending the nationwide mask mandate as well as the lockdowns, overturning a Clinton executive order, instating both a mask mandate and a lockdown. President Trump signs a $900 billion infrastructure package, including a border wall. No Democrat voted for this, but Republicans have a filibuster-proof majority, so it doesn't matter. Of course, that means a border wall will be built as soon as possible. President Trump is also making an announcement. The Republicans rejected Hillary Clinton's nominee of David Hamilton to the Supreme Court. And instead, Donald Trump will appoint Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court to replace Ruth Bader Ginsburg. President Trump signs a $1.9 trillion COVID-19 stimulus package in response to the pandemic, and as well as in the wait for COVID-19 vaccine to be rolled out. President Trump signs an executive order raising interest rates. There are signs of inflation coming around due to the high spending by, President Clinton and now President Trump. And so this might be a way to combat inflation, is raising interest rates, though it will take a heavy toll on the economy, even more so than it is now. President Trump, during the 2021 State of the Union address, announces that the U.S. will start focusing on manufacturing their own products, trying to rely less on places like Taiwan for technology, stop relying on places like the Middle East for oil, so on and so forth. President Trump has started to sign legislation legalizing recreational marijuana. This is something he said that he'd be open to during the campaign. There were some Republicans pushing for it, and eventually Trump said, just bring it to my desk, let's sign it. Maybe a sign that would boost the economy. Trump signs it. Marijuana is now legal in all 50 states, much to the chagrin of traditional Republicans. President Trump signs an executive order that he has dubbed the Remain in Mexico policy. This is the keep the border secured due to the tragedy that happened under the Clinton administration, where Republicans called it open borders. So a border wall is happening, stricter immigration. We'll just have to see if this fixes the border problem we have currently. President Trump signs a nationwide abortion bill. This has a lot of backlash. This bans third trimester abortions, bans abortion, and it's outright after 18 weeks. However, beforehand, there are exceptions for rape, incest, and threat to the mother's life in there. So there are exceptions. It's just, a very strict abortion bill. And this is being taken to the Supreme Court, saying this is unconstitutional via Roe v. Wade. We'll just have to wait and, see if this bill holds. The 2021 elections have happened. The two governor races, and in New Jersey, we can project that Phil Murphy will go on to win re-election by roughly the same margin he did 4 years ago, defeating Jack Ciattarelli by 13 points, losing ground in South Jersey while making ground in Northern Jersey. In the Virginia gubernatorial race, Terry McAuliffe will win a second term as governor, a non-consecutive term, beating Glenn Youngkin by 7 points in the state, underperformance of Hillary Clinton's numbers in the state. President Trump announces the COVID-19 vaccine will be available at the beginning of next year. This is huge news, as Trump said at the beginning of the year that the vaccine development was starting, and now at the end of the year, we are getting news that the vaccine it's ready. And so the CDC is saying, get your shot, and Americans are saying, yeah, let's do it. However, Democrats aren't so, they would go Democrat politicians say, get your shot. Some Democrat voters are not going to get the shot because it was made by the Trump administration. President Trump has three big announcements today. First, he is sanctioning Russia heavily. This is due to the increased tensions between Russia and Ukraine. But this seems to have backed them off a little bit. Putin seems scared of Trump, and he's done the same thing for China and tensions between China and Taiwan. Again, China seems to be backing away from Taiwan temporarily. And Trump is announcing that he is withdrawing from the NAFTA agreement. He's withdrawing the U.S., and he says that we're going to work on a new deal. We're going to work on a new deal. We'll just have to wait and see what this new deal is, no pun intended, later on in the year. Justice Stephen Breyer to retire from the Supreme Court. This is huge. This is pretty bad news for the Democrats, as the court is currently 5-4 conservative. And this could turn it 6-3 conservative. But he is retiring, saying if he could wait any longer, he could, but he feels like it's time to retire. President Trump is appointing Circuit Judge Neomi Rao to the Supreme Court. I think the first Asian American to be on the Supreme Court. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comments, but I think this would be the first Asian American to the Supreme Court. Neomi Rao is an historic pick, and she will be replacing Stephen Breyer. President Trump, as we said, will be signing the USMCA trade agreement, the United States-Mexico-Canada trade agreement, that is essentially a protectionist NAFTA. He's signing this, which is getting bipartisan support in both houses of Congress. The economy begins to recover as the COVID era ends, as people are going back to work, getting their vaccines, and COVID infections are dropping. The economy is starting to rebound. We now have the 2023 election results, and out of Kentucky, Daniel Cameron, the Attorney General, will win his first term as governor, defeating Jacqueline Coleman, who was Andy Beshear's running mate 4 years ago. He will win by around 21 points, defeating her. And in Louisiana, Governor Eddie Raspone will go on to win another term as governor, defeating LaToya Cantrell by 13 points. In Mississippi, Thomas Duff will win re-election, the governor winning re-election, defeating Brandon Presley by 11 points, the closest out of these three governor races. Here is President Trump's cabinet at the end of his term. As Secretary of State, we have Mike Pompeo, Secretary of Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, Secretary of Defense, David Petraeus, Attorney General, Gregory Katsas, Secretary of the Interior, Heather Wilson, Secretary of Agriculture, Kim Reynolds, Secretary of Commerce, Alan Fung, Secretary of Labor, Jeff Deal, Secretary of Health, Ben Carson, Secretary of Housing, Mike Turner, Secretary of Transportation, Blair Milo, Secretary of Energy, Sean Duffy, Secretary of Education, Brian Sandoval, Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Joshua Bolton, Secretary of Homeland Security, Michael Jackson, Budget Director, Derek Kahn, Small Business Administrator, Shane McMahon, Chief of Staff, Mark Meadows, Press Secretary, Liz Harrington, UN Ambassador, Jendayi Frazier, don't know how to pronounce that name, Science Tech Advisor, Kelvin Drogemeyer, Economic Council Chairman, Matthew Slaughter, EPA Administrator, Patrick McHenry, Trade Rep, Stephen Vaughn, CIA Director Thomas Shannon Jr., and Intelligence Director Jack Crouch Jr. for the second, Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to follow my Twitter at Chaotic Politics. This is the Chaotic One saying, peace.